Hey, everybody. Welcome. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes here to kind of let some people get on board. And what we're going to be discussing today is pair selection and strategy selection for Eonbot. So I'm going to discuss my personal strategy and how I pick pairs. It's been a pretty challenging market, of course, as everybody's aware, over the last few weeks. Definitely some big drops, big dips. Um, yeah, definitely a challenging market, mostly a sideways kind of trending down market. So we're going to jump in and look at a few pairs that I've been doing some research on, and then taking a look and seeing if these pairs are a good fit for what we want to do. Mostly what I'm going to be covering in this video, again, is my personal strategy. This is literally me doing my research of what coins I'm going to be running and what strategy I'm going to be running on these pairs. As most of you know from the Discord channel, I've been running a system where I'm buying with Spark with trends and selling with basic with trends as well. That's going to continue, and that's going to be the focus of this video. I think that's a good fit for this market. And the reason why is because roller coaster and Bollinger Band are great strategies in a market that has more volatility in this. Those strategies require volatility to really be successful, to really be good fits. In this type of market, where we see some downtrends like we see here on ICX, this is ICX on a 2-hour chart. In this type of market, it's very challenging in the sense that we see opportunities to trade, but we don't want to get caught catching what they call a falling knife, and getting stuck with bags. So how can we successfully siphon off some profitability out of this type of market, while at the same time protecting ourselves against losses? There's certainly a lot of different loss mitigation strategies, but I'm going to try to build some safety into the strategy. And if you look on our Eonbot wiki, I have a section called Strategy for New Traders. And essentially that strategy has this mindset. It's a very play it safe strategy, but overall it is going to be successful. And I've certainly have been profitable with it. I haven't had an unprofitable day even running that strategy. Now I may not be getting 10, 20, 30 uh, buys and sells a day, but the 2, 3, 4 that I'm going to get are going to consistently be profitable. Now, having said that, market conditions change. So we definitely have moved from, when I look back at ICX here, and this doesn't exactly match the market, but the last time this wasn't in some sort of downtrend goes all the way back to almost the end of February. So yeah, I mean we're looking at the last 2 weeks of a market that is in a downtrend or has been sideways for the most part. So the market has changed, and we need to change our strategy accordingly. So, as always, it's a bit of a challenge to answer questions in multiple places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to answer questions only in the Discord channel. If you look at the description for the video, you're going to see a link to the Discord channel in there. And go ahead and please jump in on the Discord channel there. I'm just taking a quick look here. What's up, Longshot? What's up, Tomo? From the chat there. Hey, guys. And again, this video is going to be archived on YouTube. And again, this may be, as I said in chat, this may be a little bit of a long video. What I did is I stopped my bot, looking at the market, went back, did some just basic initial research. And the goal here is going to be kind of a start back to basics using a strategy that I know is going to fare well in this type of market, and kind of resetting things a little bit to try to get some profitability here. I think for me personally, the last week or so has been almost a little too quiet. I'm glad that when I stopped my bot today, I ended with 0 bags. It still was been a profitable 2 weeks again, but I definitely see some opportunities that to trade that I want to take advantage of. So let's again kind of waiting for some people to jump in here. Thanks everybody for watching. And again, if you guys have any specific questions, yeah, long shot, please let's go ahead and do this on Discord. And again, for those of you who are watching who are not on our Discord, let's go ahead. There's a link to our Discord in the description. You're welcome to join. This is our community Discord where we discuss Eonbot. Again, this is an automated cryptocurrency trading bot. I personally, my name is Def Vader on the Discord chat. I'm the community manager, which basically means I help answer questions and do tech support for the bot and for all of you guys. I've used all the major commercial bots, so I'm intimately familiar with all of them. And obviously, I moved over to Eonbot. It's been a great experience so far. There are some unique things about this bot that make it better for me. It's a very simple, straightforward program, but it does have some great features that just make it a little bit unique and more profitable. One of the things that makes it great for me is it's fast. I mean, this bot does its calculations. It grabs its buys and sells fast. It also has a pretty simple and straightforward what they call a trend watcher built into it, and it does a very good job of not bagging me up. Again, we're sitting here looking at a screen of ICX on a 2-hour chart, so we see a huge downtrend going back to February 26th. This is a pair that I had been doing trading on, and I got no bags using the trend watcher. Now, again, I didn't get a whole lot of buys either, but that's the trend watcher doing its thing. It saw downtrends and reacted accordingly. I'd rather have less buys than bad buys. But again, what the kind of the focus in this is me doing this for me personally is going to be looking at this and saying, I see opportunities in here to trade, and I'm going to kind of adjust accordingly. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so what we're looking at here, this is TradingView on my chart here, and I have a 20 period exponential moving average. So that this video doesn't go 3 hours long, I'm not going to explain a whole lot about that other than you have two different options in the bot. You have an exponential moving average and a simple moving average. An exponential moving average is more sensitive to recent price action. There's a lot of resources out there about it. I'll post some links in the Discord if you want. But a 20 period EMA is a setup along with what we're eventually going to do is I like to run off of 15-minute periods. Now that's kind of eventually what we're going to kind of boil this down to. Right now we're going to take a bigger perspective, but this is my basic setup here. I want to take a broad look and an overview, so I'm going to zoom out to a 2-hour chart. But the EMA at a 20 period and a 15-minute period is a combination that is used for a lot of other equity securities, Forex, etc. It's a combination that's time tested and back tests incredibly well. That's what I'm going to use. It's kind of simple and straightforward. I've also got my MACD standard settings and RSI as well. So we've got our moving averages here. So we're going to take a quick look at these charts. I've got a whole list of pairs we're going to go through. You can see pretty huge list here. And we're going to take a look at each one of these pairs and see, are they good candidates for botting? I'm going to start off looking at 2 hours and then again zoom down to 15 minutes where we're ultimately going to be trading that. And so again, jumping in, why a 2-hour chart? I want to see the broad trend at play. ICX clearly in a downtrend. We have our 20 period EMA, and we can see the price consistently below the EMA for the better part of the last 2 weeks. If we go backwards, We can see some swings up and down. I've also got a support and resistance indicator on here as well. And again, if you guys want to discuss this more in detail, we can discuss it in the Discord. I did explain some of it in the ping pong tutorial on the Eonbot wiki, which is also linked here in the description for the video. And that's what these orange lines are. They are support and resistance, meaning that these are historical locations where we've seen price revert. So support meaning, again, here for an example, back on the 8th of March, as we can see here from the bottom, we saw price hit a low and then zoom back out and then back down again. One of the things that jumps out to me at this chart is I look at the EMA and I consistently see where the price hits the EMA and drops, hits the EMA and drops. And when the few times it does break the EMA, it hasn't stayed above there for very long. One of the things that I do find a bit encouraging is I look down here and I see the volume. We've definitely seen some selling off, but we've also seen some green there in the volume as well. So that tells me is that we have buyers who are looking at this and saying it's probably not going to go much lower, etc. So some opportunities to trade. That's what we see on the 2-hour chart. So broadly speaking, I see a downtrend. I see price testing the EMA and not really being able to break it in any long-term way. Let's jump down to the 15-minute chart. And kind of like to the start of the video with what we discussed, it's sideways. We're seeing a sideways ranging market, not a whole lot of movement up or down. But again, we definitely see some opportunities to trade below the EMA and sell above it. And as you guys are aware from the wiki with the strategy for new traders, if you're not familiar with Eonbot, please take a look at the link and in the description for this video for our wiki. You'll learn more about the bot. And the personal strategy I'm running is, again, under the strategies for new traders. And it's based on the idea of buying below this moving average, which is the Spark strategy, and selling above that point. Now, I could also use Spark to sell above the EMA, but personally, I don't want to limit myself, especially on a coin like this that's kind of flat and again has its downtrends. I basically want to buy low. I know the old phrase is buy low and sell high, but on coins like this and in a market like this, I'm content to buy low and sell at whatever profit I can get out of this, roughly speaking. I don't know if I'd go so far as to call it scalping, because I want to be careful with that. If you're making a lot of trades in a day, you're paying fees on every one of those trades. So I want to be careful about the number of trades that I have. I'd rather have fewer trades at a higher percentage than worry about a bunch of small trades, at least in this market. In a market with more volatility, I might feel differently regarding multiple trades, and there are other strategies as well that might be better for that, like roller coaster or Bollinger Bands. But again, I do see some nice opportunities here where we saw some dips below the EMA and a bit of a rise up. And the strategy that I had previously for me, where I was buying roughly at about 1.75 to 2%, in some cases even up to 3% on certain coins, wasn't really grabbing some of these moves. It was too high. And this is one of the questions I get. I'll just answer it right here about the strategy that I'm running is, even if the bot goes up on a trend, is it going to buy? No. Spark is buying below the EMA, period. So we need to, if we want to take advantage of that, we need to check and make sure that we have a strategy in place that's going to be able to grab these moves while at the same time, I don't want to buy over, to use an example, I don't want to buy up here. Obviously, I want to buy somewhere closer to here and sell over here somewhere. So let's take a quick look about how we're going to do that. One of the things I recommend everybody becoming familiar with is how to use charts. And there's a variety of different ways to do that. I'm using TradingView. I really like it. There's also Coinigy. I've had a great experience with them as well. There are free apps for mobile. It really isn't as complicated as it can look here. It can be very simple. And one of the things I like to do, or what I'm going to do while I'm analyzing here, is I'm going to look at a snapshot in time and kind of back test myself and say, if I had bought here and I had sold here or up here somewhere, what would that have looked like? What would the percentages have been? So I put my cursor here, I hold down the shift button, and I go up to the EMA. So at this moment in time on March 10th, the price dropped in this 15-minute window. The price dropped 2.18% below the EMA. And just kind of eyeballing this, I think we're going to see something there kind of consistently along those lines. So again, that was right around 2%. Same thing, almost 3%. 3.25. I'm going to go back here just a little bit. Roughly 2.25. Pretty big dip right there, 5%. This is a good time to discuss the trend watcher. If you use trends with Spark, what Spark is looking, or what trend watcher is looking at, is it's looking at your percentage and then the last few candles to determine whether or not it should make a buy. One of the things I think that trips people up with this when they're trying to kind of figure it out for them, make sense of it, is they're looking just at candles on a chart. Candles are periods of time. So the price in this red candle on a 15-minute chart, the price opened here and closed down here at the end in this 15-minute window. On the candle prior, on a green candle, opened here at the bottom of the wick, closed at the top. Long story short is those two candles comprise 30 minutes of time, and there's price action in that 30-minute period of time. So on the trend watcher, it's going to look at that. In this case, if I had, let's say, again, hypothetically, I'm running ICX on a 15-minute period with a 20-period EMA, the trend watcher is going to look at this 30-minute period of time and say, overall, was the price up or was the price down? And if the price is down, it's not going to buy. It's not going to buy until it sees a reversal. So essentially, once with trends on, once the price gets down, like let's say I have my 1.75 on here. So you go down to the 1.75. Let's see here. So on this candle here at 1.75 roughly, close enough. The trend watcher basically kicks in at this point and says, what did the last 30 minutes of time look like? What did those last two candles look like? And again, if it's overall, if it's a downtrend, it's not going to buy. So I use this as an example because in something like Spark, down, 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 multiple red candles, and then a big green candle up, the bot is going to still attempt to, so we now have seen a reversal. The bot is going to look to still buy at around the percentage below the EMA or better that you had listed while still confirming the reversal. So if I had, let's say, the strategy on this, but because what I'm thinking already on this is I'm probably going to run this at somewhere around 1 to 1.25 below the EMA as a strategy. If I had done that, then I would expect to buy someplace with the trend watcher on somewhere, somewhere down here, essentially. Now, having said that, from that point, let's look and see if that's the case and I had sold up here, we're looking at a potentially a nice gain. Also keep in mind, and this is incredibly important, and again, guys, if you're having any questions, let's go ahead and put them in the general area of the Discord. Couple points on here. One of the questions I see here is Spark does a better job and this is one of the users in chat saying this. Spark does a better job when the market is in a downtrend just because of the nature of how it currently works. Unless you're using dynamic, but then you can't use trends. That's true of how the bot works. I think you can use Spark in pretty much any market. It really depends on your trading strategy, but certainly in a market that's downtrending or sideways like this, what we want to do is we want to buy these pullbacks on here at a more defined rate, and that's what Spark gives us the ability to do. So I've got a list of coins over here. Again, I'm not going to overthink this too much. I'm going to do this at 1.25. I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive here than I have been in the last 2 weeks, where I was being a little bit safe at that 1.75 to 3%. In fact, even on this, I think I'm going to go down to about 1. All right, so let's jump over. So my next one on my list over here is ETH BTC. Now, question, how did I come up with this list? I essentially cross-reference. What I do is I'll spend a couple of minutes looking at, I trade on Binance. I will look at volume over the last 24 hours, volume over the last week, and then I'll also look at coinmarketcap.com and look at volume and cross-reference. Personally, I like to trade coins with high volume. High volume means that there's more money, there's more liquidity coming into the market, and what that means is there are more buyers and more sellers. That gives us more opportunities for trading. Less buyers and sellers, obviously, less opportunities, generally speaking. So again, let's look over here. We're going to go to ETH BTC on Binance. Same thing. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to go to a 2-hour chart. Sometimes I'll look at 1 hour, sometimes I'll look at 4 or a day. But in this type of market where, broadly speaking, it's been down for the most part, I want to get a sense of the greater trend here. So, wow, on a 2-hour chart, that is incredibly flat. There is very, very little activity going on in there, but we still see some ranges to trade. We do see a downtrending MACD, so that's concerning, but we also see RSI kind of getting down here to a bottom. Historically, when we see ETH hit these bottoms, at least in this span of time, there hasn't been any huge move back. That's one of the reasons, kind of a side note, but it's been one of the reasons why ETH has been a decent hedge against some of the downtrend and craziness that's gone on in Bitcoin recently. Okay. So I'm jumping back out to the 15 minutes here. Question to Longshot, as he posted here in the channel on the last chart I was looking at, the question is, would the bot have made a purchase even though the EMA is still painted at a downward angle in the example? Yes, it would have, because the trend watcher isn't looking at the downtrend of the EMA. It's looking at the last couple of candles. So, and again, that's what we're looking at. Even if we see a broad downtrend or even uptrend with the EMA, we're looking for a point in Spark. The purpose of this strategy is to buy below the exponential moving average at a percentage that you, the user, have defined. The addition of the trend watcher into this adds in the last bit of time for whatever your periods are. Again, like on a 15-minute period, it's going to look at the last, essentially, trying to make this kind of as simple to understand as possible. It's going to look at the last 30 minutes of trading history at the time where at the point where the price falls to the percentage below EMA. At that point, it's going to look back at the last 30 minutes of trading history and say, in that 30-minute window, is the price action up or down? And then if it's up, then we have a divergence in that example. Like in this, for example, we have a downtrending EMA. but we have a divergence here where price moves back up. I don't know that that's a great example because I still would have much have bought there, but for the purpose of the example, if there's a divergence, we want to buy on that uptrend to capture part of a move. So essentially what the trend watcher is doing in this strategy is confirming a reversal. And that's what we want. I don't want a situation from, at least, again, this is me personally in my trading. I don't want a situation where I just, for example, let's just take a look at this candle here. Okay, so 1.33% down. If I had my bot set to buy on Spark at 1% down without trends on, it would not look back at any previous trading history and it would just buy right here. I don't want to do that. As you can see the problem of where that can come up with, we would have purchased somewhere in here and then got stuck with bags. Now you can DCA, dollar cost average bag buster your way out of this, and that's certainly a strategy that's available on the bot. But I want to avoid that as much as possible. I would rather miss. Essentially, what's happening with Spark and Trends on is saying that I'm okay with missing buying at the absolute bottom, but rather I'm buying into the reversal and then riding the wave up as high as I can before I dump it and jump off of it. That's essentially the goal with this strategy. Still, the question is going to be, what's the best way to do that? Because if I have my percentages set at too low of a piece, or like I had before, if I had on some of my coins, I was set at 2% or more below EMA. I was missing buys in this type of market. So looking at ETH and kind of going back here, not a ton of opportunity. I do see some of these moves below EMA, a rise above. Well, let's do some math here. Again, I put my cursor on a specific period of time. I hold down Shift. I drag down, 0.75%. Let's take another quick look here over here. And again, I'm not going back that far. I'm going to go back in recent price history so that I get, and what that does is that tells me the most recent, general history and the sense of what the market is doing. So that was definitely higher. Okay, so we see some jumps between, 0.75% down, 1.5% down. So we're back about 3 days ago here, 1% down. And again, some people may be looking at this and asking, because we obviously buy low, sell high. They may say, hey, you've seen a couple opportunities where the price even went below, 1% down. Wouldn't you want to take advantage of every possible little move there? Well, again, using this as an example, this point is 1.23% below EMA. If I had my strategy set to 1% below EMA, it would buy. But on the previous section over here, let's go back. At no point during this dip, for example, did it get above about 0.75% below EMA. Therefore, it would not have bought. I don't know that I'm still going to go that low taking a look at this, but it's worth pointing out. You're not going to be able to capture every single move. What you want to do is capture smart moves. So let's look here again. I think we pretty much have our percent locked in at this point. We're seeing some consistency right around 1%. That's what I'm going to do. This is another 1%er to me. I'm a little bit more concerned about ETH because of that sideways movement, but at the same time, ETH overall is a coin that has high volume. It's got some strong profitability behind it historically, so I'm not as concerned about that if I bag up, and I'm confident in the trend watcher and the combination of this not giving me bags. It hasn't in the past. Confident in it now. Let's jump over to Nano. Taking a quick look here. Right. So, question from the chat, would two 5 minute, so would 5 minute candles work different than two 30 minute candles? I don't know that it would work differently. It would look differently. The bot is going to look at the last two candles. If you're on 5 minute periods, it's going to look at the last basically 10 minutes of time. If you were on 30 minute periods, it's essentially going to look at the last 60 minutes of time. So it's going to use the same logic, but the periods of time it's going to look at are different based on the periods of time you're trading. And again, for me personally, I'm doing 15 minutes here because I want to be able to. Historically, it has good back testing on it. So let's jump out to the 2 hours. So 2 hour time frame. I know Nano, as most of us are aware of, is a coin that's kind of, I guess you could say that's pumped recently. I generally don't like buying coins that have pumped in any sort of recent history, um, that don't have a long history themselves, because you get those pumps and then the sell off that comes afterwards. But we see kind of a nice sideways channel here for the most part. It's kind of interesting. We had the big volume and then the volume's kind of flatlined out. Let's take another look here. We've got a downtrending MACD and an RSI kind of stuck in the middle here. So not overbought, not underbought, just kind of sitting there in the middle. As far as this goes, I do see some nice opportunity here, but on the whole, I think I'm going to hold on this at least for the moment. I'm definitely going to keep it on my watch list, but I want to see what happens when the markets hit again tomorrow, and this may be something that you see me jumping into in here shortly. So we shall see. I think we're going to probably see something different here, or something about the same, I should say here. So ZIL. Take a quick look here. Obviously, this is a newer coin, 2 hour time frame. Kind of a pump recently. And let's jump into the 15 minutes. I see the obvious uptrend, but certainly don't want to get caught in there buying something that's pumped and is going to fall. So it's kind of same thing here. I see a downtrending MACD, mid-level RSI. I'd prefer to see to kind of get down here a little bit and kind of buy that uptrend. But at the same time, I'm definitely seeing some movement here above and below the EMA. I like that. Hope you guys are really liking this. Again, this is kind of impromptu, and I did that on purpose. I want to give you guys, and I think everybody agrees, even the developers agree as well. We want to give you a realistic picture. We use this to trade and make money ourselves. I didn't want to come here with some script and kind of paint a different picture for you guys than what the reality is. Also, too, I'm profiting off of this. I've got some things in the works and trading history as well, where I may even want to do something here shortly where, for example, the bot has the ability to send, as many of you use this feature, it sends trades to Telegram. So you have a Telegram chat and your bot sends notifications that your bot has made a buy or a sell. I may look at actually having my trades forwarded over to the Discord so that you can see this happening live. I really want you guys to see that it's possible to profit with this if you do this the right way. But at the same time, does it require some work and some thought? Absolutely. It's not going to be something where you're going to press start and forget about it. Having said that, interestingly enough, I kind of allowed my test account with Binance right now is essentially a test account where I'm testing strategies for you guys. If people have questions in chat, I'll run strategies some of you guys have posted to see, did that work well for me? What was the logic behind it? And I basically, for the last 10 days or so, essentially let my bot run effectively unattended and still ended profitably with 0 bags. That's beautiful. So what I'm doing right now is more about just maximizing my profitability, because we're here to make money, and I'm sure that's why you're watching this as well. So we're gonna see what we can do here as far as taking advantage again of the current market, because we have our strategy, but the market changes at the drop of a dime. So we need to be able to react accordingly. One of the things I'm noticing kind of going through this particular chart is I'm not seeing a whole lot of huge dips below. I want to see more of a drop in order to buy on something like this, because I don't want to get caught in a downturn. So for now, kind of the same thing with ZIL. I'm going to hold that off to the side. Glance over here at chat. Hope you guys are doing okay. Yep. As far as again answering some questions here, Trend Watcher looks at the last two candles, and again, I think the important, at least to me, the important way to think about it is candles or time. So when it's looking at the last two candles, it's looking at that period of time. So again, if you're running 15-minute candles, it's looking at the last 30 minutes. Okay. And that's exactly right. The EMA that I've, again, answering some questions here, the EMA I've selected could be down, but the Trend Watcher could be up based on the two candles. That's exactly right. That's what we want. That's the scenario we're looking for. We're trying to grab that down move. We're trying to grab that move up after the coin has hit a downtrend. And that's kind of the brilliance of the Trend Watcher in this. So taking a look here at the 15 minutes, I mean, look how flat that is. Not a whole lot of movement up or down below the EMA. So again, what does flat mean? It means if there's not a huge difference between the price here and the price down here, then that's a very tight window for us to trade in and out of. So if we make purchases down here, we need to be sure we're going to be able to sell at some sort of profit above here. This is kind of maybe a good time to note that every exchange has its own fee schedule. You're paying fees per trade as a general rule of thumb. And I know there's ways on different, like Binance has different promotions and things, and you can buy at BNB to lower fees. But as a general rule, you're looking at 0.5% on a trade, generally speaking, buy and sell. So when I'm selling, I don't want to sell generally at something less than about 0.75, and even then, that doesn't give me a whole lot of profitability if a huge chunk of that is being siphoned off for fees. Realistically, you'd prefer to have something at least 2% per trade. But in this type of market, I'd be really happy getting somewhere around 1.25 per trade. And in some instances, though, you'll get more. And we'll get into that here in a little bit as far as the Trend Watcher goes, because we've talked a lot about the Trend Watcher and how it buys, but not a whole lot about how it sells. It effectively does the same thing in reverse on a sell. I've had situations where, as a general rule, and I'm going to do the same thing on these, I'm going to put my sell percent at about 0.85%. But I've had situations, and I'll show you guys some examples in chat again. I've posted some stuff in the results channel of you guys seeing my trades in the Binance trading history. But I've had this sell 5%. I mean that's high, but I typically 1 to 3% on average. That's pretty massive. That's the bot getting to that 0.85% and then looking at that period of time and saying, again, kind of the same thing in reverse from the buys. On the 15-minute period, it's looking at the previous 30 minutes and saying, is there an uptrend? If there is, we're not going to sell just yet. Then the next candle completes. Still an uptrend, not going to sell that just yet. And it will continue riding up until it sees a downtrend, and then it's going to sell. So keep that in mind when you're using my strategy. Is you're not going to see a buy at the absolute bottom and a sell at the absolute peak. You're going to see it a little bit in the middle there, and that's why we're looking at some range between the EMA here. But if you in something like a 15-minute period, that's fast enough to get in before the uptrend has gone, peaked, and it's also fast enough to get out before it dips. So IOST, that's too flat for me. I'm just not seeing enough of a profitability in between there to to go ahead and buy. I like seeing this uptrend right here, and that gives me something to look at. We see the downtrending MACD, and again, we see the sort of midline RSI. I'm going to watch this because I think we're probably looking at this downtrending a little bit after this, and then then at that point, I may want to put it on the bot. So holding that off to the side. Let's jump over to Ncash. And guys, if you have any questions. Somebody just asked for a DGD from the chat. Sure, let's take a look at it. Digix. And to Tomo's question, can you show what the difference is with dynamic buy price? I'm not gonna focus on that in this video just yet. That'll have its own separate video at some point, and we'll go over dynamic. I don't want to confuse people a whole lot with this. I kind of want to focus on this specific strategy right now and what I'm doing here, just so that you're able to really kind of get a good sense of what it is that I'm doing here and why this is working, and then we can kind of tweak and go from there. Again, I'm certainly not telling everybody this is the only way to do it or it's the best way to do it. This is the way that makes sense for me. And you've seen me point that out and chat to you guys a ton of times. The bot, if you look at the strategies on the bot, whether it's ping pong, which is buying at static prices, you have Spark, which buys and sells above or below a moving average. Then you've got roller coaster, which is essentially a pullback strategy, meaning that it's trying to buy the quick reversal after a peak or a pump. And then you've got basic, which is essentially basic uses, like, I don't want to confuse too much, but basic uses whatever the current price is as the starting point, and then buys and sells at a certain percent above or below that starting point. If you look at these individual strategies and the way that you're able to combine them, you essentially have a broad range of strategies that will work for, and I have Bollinger Band as well, of course. You have a broad range of strategies that will work for virtually any market, provided you're using the right strategy for the price action that you're seeing. And so that's why we're focusing on this. This is a good strategy, in my opinion, for a flat to ranging market, so that we can take advantage of some of these moves. So DGD, let's jump out to the 2 hour. So we had that nice rise. Yeah, we do need to talk about Bollinger Band at some point. Absolutely, here in the future. And it's kind of we've talked about this in chat. Right now on the bot, we're on version 1.4. It's still 1.4 is still in beta. We're gonna probably have one more version. Well, we're gonna have one more version of 1.4 that drops tomorrow. We have a giveaway going on right now. Woo woo! Giveaway, guys, please enter the giveaway in the Discord channel. If you don't have a copy of Eonbot already, it's a great opportunity to get your hands on this. And after the next version of the beta drops, we're pretty much looking at a stable release of 1.4 here very shortly thereafter. Any feedback you guys have is on the bot is greatly appreciated. Our developers are hard at work trying to make sure they give us the best product, so they're going to kind of tighten up everything. And once we have a final 1.4, then comes work on 1.5, and 1.5 is going to be very strategy heavy. We've got a lot of things in the mix for you, and I think you're going to see certain strategies like Bollinger Band is really going to become. Whereas many of us maybe don't use it right now because of we're kind of locked into a certain type of market. I think that's going to become a very powerful strategy in the next version of Eonbot, because you're going to be able to combine some other indicators and elements with it for confluence, as we say, being able to confirm price movement. So definitely a lot of great things in the works for sure. So again, taking a look at DGD, had its rise, and then after that it's been kind of ranging. Definitely a little bit of a downtrend here, of course, but look at those pullbacks and the levels of support. So when it's hit its support, it's definitely jumped back up a bit. I like that. Do I need to add DGD to my list? I think I might. Let's look here on the 15 minutes. This is going to tell me what I really want to know here now. That nice move up. So we can see here where it's definitely ranged a bit, but some opportunities to trade in a bit of a downslope. Look at that MACD flat, RSI choppy, kind of mid-level. So we had some downtrend here. Right now, I liked the price action that I saw in the 2 hours, and I even liked some of this, to be honest. My concern is I don't want to buy something that's falling. Let's do some math here. So I'm going to look at this period of time, 2.5 below. Almost 1%, 0.75% below. 147. Now, one of the questions I had from chat too was, and it's a great question, is what's the sell strategy on this? This is a good time to talk about it. I think I was going to kind of wait till we got a little bit further in here, but I'm going to probably add this coin here, and I'm going to trade this. I like this. Good call out there. All right, so DGD, and I'm going to get a little aggressive on this one because I like the fact that we see these peaks and dips here. While the MACD has been flat, I see some volume down here, and I like the fact that when we hit these RSI levels, we see a jump back up. So on this, I'm gonna go at 1%. So enough to play it safe, but also capture some moves here as well. So on the buy strategy, I'm using basic, and what basic means is once I make a purchase, or the bot makes a purchase for me, it's essentially kind of disregarding the EMA portion of it, and it's saying from the point at which I made a purchase, like let's just hypothetically say we buy here at, 38K essentially. At this point, it's going to, and I'm going to put my sell percent at somewhere around 0.85%, close enough there. So at the point at which it gets here, it's going to look at the most recent trend. So if I had bought down there, it would have gone over here basically on this candle and said, what's the recent price history? Well, if it sees an uptrend, it's going to continue waiting. So it gets to this next candle. So we see two red candles that probably would have sold somewhere over here for right around 2%, estimating with the way that this strategy works. And some people will say, well, you could have hit this up here. Well, you can't grab every part of every move. What we want to do is grab, again, I want to grab good moves. And that would have been a great move right there. I think from what I've seen here in the math, the 1% is going to get us some good moves and avoid some of the choppiness on the downtrend. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of DGD. Having said that, overall, we still see a downsloping EMA, and again, kind of jumping out here. We looked at a 2 hour. Let me look at a 1 hour. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot different, but it looks a little bit more sideways. Okay, so that's definitely kind of good and expected there. So we're going to take a look at a couple things here now. Let's look at Litecoin. If you guys have any other questions, let me know, certainly. So a couple of questions here. Will it buy even better than your percent below the EMA if the trend line is uptrend? It can. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, let's say I've got my buy percentage at 1% on DGD. Let's say there's a move that goes like 4% down. So it's well below the percentage that I've stated for the 1%, but the last two candles become an uptrend. At that point, an uptrend's been confirmed, and we're still below the EMA there. At that point, the bot's going to initiate a buy. That number can be below the 1%. That's the beauty of using the trends. It's kind of the same thing with sells. That's why you can get, for example, a 5% sell when you have an 8.5% sell set up here, is because the trend watcher is going to sell when the trend is confirmed, or in the sense of a buy when a downtrend is confirmed. So absolutely, you can get sells, buys below this percentage and sells above this percentage with the trend watcher on. That's the beauty and the power of it. And that's also why, when we're, and again, this is my recommendation, when you, I think the charting aspect of this is very important. And of course, I'm taking quite a bit of time here because I'm sitting here talking. But as a general rule, and I have a huge list of coins here to be fair, but as a general rule, I mean, this doesn't take me more than 30 minutes in a day. And there's times I've done it once a day, but there's times recently I'm so confident in this trend watcher. Like I said, I let the bot go unattended for days at a time at this point now. Not necessarily recommending it, but you can do it. But the reason why I'm able to do that is because I'm confident, because I've done this chart work. I know the recent price action here, so I know that what I'm setting as my buy percentage isn't completely out of profile with the recent price action. Now, again, price action after this point, if we had a crystal ball for what's going to happen after here, we'd all be driving Lambos and so forth. So no one knows what's going to happen there. But it's reasonable of me to set my strategy based on the recent price action. That's why we look at different time frames as well. We see a picture we see the big picture perspective from a higher time frame. And then I know in this strategy, I want to trade at about 15 minutes or so. So then the combination of those two, if I'm seeing something similar or a divergence, I can react accordingly. And that measuring becomes critical. See, again, I just grabbed a random, point, 1.63%. Okay, so again, the bot gets down in this type of strategy at 1%. It's going to see a downslope, and then once it sees an uptrend, it's going to buy down here somewhere, and then I'm going to be able to ride that up. So that's the beauty of the strategy. But I've got my percentage set to the point too where this move here is only 84%. Would the bot have made a purchase? No, I would have missed this. And you know what? That's okay, because I see other situations where if I had it set to there, it could buy over here somewhere, and then I'm sitting here waiting for a down, buying a downtrending coin. So that's why these percentages are so important. I want my buy percentage to be somewhere in the range of where this coin has been historically. And basic, honestly, frankly speaking, basic is the sell strategy, just makes this kind of simple. I don't have to think about it. Sell at a percent where I'm going to at least make some profit and ride the general trend up. That's all it's doing. And that's going to work for me over time. So again, I kind of like that. Let's look at LTC here. And guys, to be honest, I think we've covered a whole lot of stuff in here. There's been some great questions. I hope this has been super useful for you guys. And this is kind of the point of the video where after this, I'm going to kind of run through it. It's been a long video. I'm going to quickly run through a few things here and then set my bot accordingly. Again, if you have any questions, just kind of jump in there, but I'm going to kind of quickly run through some of this, okay? So LTC, let me jump out here to the 2 hours. So down slope coming up, maybe some cup and handle action going on here soon. I like that move up, but now we're seeing the sell off afterwards. Kind of seems to happen historically with the Litecoin. I see the downtrend here, or the downtrending MACD, downtrending RSI. Let's jump back to the 15 minutes here. Downtrend. So we're seeing some periods there. I'm looking at these support and resistance levels too, and there's definitely a whole lot of room in there. And I don't know that that's a good thing in this. It means we could definitely see a move Litecoin price wise, kind of hit these support levels or break them even a little bit. That's what support and resistance levels are about. They're going to get broken, and we want to take best advantage of that as we can. Super flat. This is kind of like ETH, though. ETH and Litecoin are very similar to me in the sense that obviously they're high volume coins. They have a lot of history behind them. So these are coins where I'm not as worried about getting stuck with a bag, because if that were to happen, I have every confidence with it that within a period of time, I would be able to sell my way out of it or DCA my way out of it. Having said that, of course, as few bags as possible, right? Let's look here and see what type of percentages we're looking at. Less than 1%, 1%. One of our users in chat, I don't see them currently watching this video, but one of them was asking me yesterday. They saw this move. They were using my strategy on the 15-minute window and saw this move on Litecoin and said, "Hey, why did my bot buy? I'm running your strategy exactly as it is in there." And we look at these percentages. I was running it at 1.75. At no point did we get 1.75 below the EMA. Therefore, it did not buy. That's the reason why. I would have loved to have grabbed something like this, but again, frankly, that's kind of one of the reasons why I didn't just stay running the percentages where I was at. I think I could have just sat on it and still made some profitability out of it, but I'm going to fine tune a little bit for situations like this. I think I'm going to grab Litecoin again, even though I see a downtrend here and I see a downtrending MACD. I also am confident in the trend watcher as far as it being able to grab one of these dips here. So kind of seems like I'm doing the same thing, aren't I? 1% there. And at this point, guys, again, it's been a really long video here. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. I appreciate the great questions. I'm going to leave this video up for a while. Hope you guys were happy with it. We're going to go ahead and jump off here. It's dinner time with the fam. I'm going to get my bot back up and running here and get the live stream up and running here pretty soon after I quickly run through the remainder of these coins. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you have any other questions, post them in the chat. And you guys take care. Again, please, if you don't have the bot already, if you're not part of the community, jump in and join our Discord. We're happy to answer questions for you. We're happy to help you out. Also, check out and shout out here. I should have even said it earlier. Crypto Potluck on YouTube. This guy does awesome videos where he talks about the bot. Another person with showing you his experience of using the bot. And again, that's Crypto Potluck. Check out his channel on YouTube. A lot of videos about Eonbot. Great resource. Check out our wiki. Ask us questions. We love it. We're here to help. We're here to any suggestions you have about making the bot better. Eonbot is very new in its life cycle. And this development team has a whole lot of great stuff planned here for the future. It's exciting to be a part of it. Again, thank you so much, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.